It started like any other night in that overpriced Manhattan restaurant. Dim lighting, polished silverware, soft jazz humming in the background, and me, just another invisible waitress in black gliding between tables like a ghost no one bothered to see. But that night was different, because at table 9, sipping a $600 bottle of wine he didn't even glance at, twice sat the man who destroyed everything I once was. Marshall Langford, CEO of Zephyr Corp, a man whose smile had once charmed my father into signing away our life's work, and who now laughed like the world owed him more. He didn't recognize me. Of course he didn't. 5 years ago, I was Dr. Isabel Novak, MIT double major founder of Solvex, daughter of one of the most respected researchers in sustainable energy. Our invention, a breakthrough in green hydrogen production, something that could have changed the way the world ran. But Marshall, he saw it, smelled profit, and pounced. Came to us like a partner, promised funding, access, exposure. We handed him everything: our research, our formulas, even the encryption backbone that protected our core algorithm. 2 months later, he vanished, took our data, filed patents under his name, launched his empire, and us. We were slapped with lawsuits for breach of contract, accused of fraud, cut off from every grant and investor. My father had a stroke 6 weeks after the scandal. Never recovered. I lost my name in the industry. No one wanted to touch me. So I disappeared. Changed my name to Bell, scrubbed my presence online, started working odd jobs just to survive, and eventually ended up here. At Le Cadeau, the kind of place where you serve power on porcelain and no one ever asked your last name. It was punishment maybe, or maybe strategy, because Marshall dined here often, and I watched every time, studied, waited, until that night. He was laughing with 2 of his cronies. One of them I recognized from the original legal team. The other, just your typical rich tag-along in a navy suit too tight around the ego. I brought the menus. My hands were steady, my voice soft. "Welcome to Le Cadeau, gentlemen." He didn't look at me, didn't even pause. And then, like clockwork, the arrogance came. They switched to German. I guess he figured no one around him spoke it. He'd always used language like a shield, thought it made him untouchable. "Schaust dir das an," he said, nodding toward me. "Look at her. Probably some washed-up drama student or science dropout. They always end up waiting tables." I felt the heat rise in my chest, not from embarrassment, but from how casually he erased me, how certain he was I didn't matter. And then it got worse. He said my father's name. He laughed, called him a brilliant idiot, mocked how easily he'd slipped that clause into the deal. And then he mentioned the encrypted server, the one he claimed his team brute forced through. He even said the password out loud, laughing like it was some inside joke. Novasky 99. He smirked. Fitting right, after the daughter who vanished. My hands clenched, because Novasky 99, that was the name of the high school science fair project that first made headlines. That was mine. He didn't just steal our work. He took my memory, twisted. It made it the lock to the vault he slammed in our faces. I walked back to the kitchen, breath short, eyes burning. And then something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to wait anymore. See, I had a recorder, just a small pen-sized thing in my locker habit from years of paranoia. I grabbed it, slipped it into the pocket behind my apron, and I knew exactly how to draw him out. "Tableside dessert," I told the manager. "Crepe Suzette for table 9. She nodded. I rolled out the cart. Burner pan orange liqueur, the whole production. The other diners glanced over. People always loved a bit of fire. But this wasn't just dinner theater. This was the stage. I started melting the butter, folding the crepes, my hands calm, too calm. And then as I struck the match for the flambe, I looked Marshall Langford in the eye for the first time in 5 years. "Excuse me," I said in perfect accent-free German. "You were talking earlier about encrypted servers." The silence was immediate. His fork stopped mid-air. The lawyer paled. The Navy suit guy just blinked. Marshall stared at me like he'd just seen a ghost. "What did you say?" he muttered. I leaned slightly closer, my voice low but cutting. I said, "It's fascinating, especially when someone's arrogant enough to announce a password out loud in a public place." Gasps, not just from their table, but others nearby. Heads were turning, phones were lifting. He stood up so fast his chair screeched. "Who the hell are you?" I finished folding the crepes, plated one, set it down in front of him with surgical precision. "My name," I said slowly in English now, "is Dr. Isabel Novak. You stole my work. You destroyed my family, and you just confessed in front of a dozen witnesses." He lunged for me. Didn't matter. Ben, the bartender who'd always had my back, stepped between us. "Back off, man," he said, eyes steady. "You touch her, you're gonna need a lawyer for more than fraud." Cameras flashed. Someone shouted. We heard it. She got it all on tape. Marshall froze, his face a mask of panic and fury. I pulled the recorder from my pocket. The red light blinked. "This little thing," I said, holding it up, "has your voice, your words, your guilt." He turned to the manager. "Get her out. She's insane." But the manager looked at me, and then back at him. "She's worked here 2 years, she said calmly. "Never once caused trouble. You might want to call your lawyer." What followed was chaos. Cops came. Journalists showed up. One even flashed his badge, Brian Teller, Wall Street Digest. He'd been digging into Zephyr Core's shady beginnings for years. "I have your proof," I told him. Within 72 hours, the story exploded. The waitress who brought down a billionaire. They raided Zephyr Core's servers, found the original project files, found metadata with my father's name all over it. Marshall's empire crumbled like overbaked meringue. His COO flipped first, signed a deal, turned over emails. The lawyer followed. Me. I finally got my name back. My dignity. My father, well, he read the headline and smiled. That was enough. 6 months later, I opened the doors to my own lab in Brooklyn. Novak Energy Solutions. We're rebuilding the dream this time with the right partners, the right protection. And that recorder still sits on my desk. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. That even when you're dismissed, erased, talked over in languages they think you don't understand, you're still listening. And when the time comes, you speak. So tell me, have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever watched someone steal credit and rise while you sank? Drop your story in the comments, because the world needs more comebacks, more ghosts who speak back, more justice served hot. And if this one lit a fire in you, hit like, share it with someone who's been silenced, and subscribe for more stories where the underdog rises and the mighty fall.